On this week's episode of An Echo of Glory, we delay talking about the Crystal Palace defeat, but we come to it eventually. We talk about Gary being an international man of mystery. We also welcome back a friend of the show who you haven't seen for quite a long time. Welcome to another episode of An Echo of Glory. Joining me, Johnny Blaine, is Gary Diamond. Hello.
Hello.
And guess who's back? Back again. It's Jake Robson.
Hey.
Hello.
55 days.
Is that how long it's been?
55. I think since
you've
the
been
Arsenal
counting the
defeat.
days to my return.
I dropped you after the Arsenal defeat. I didn't drop you.
There's been mixed reporting on why or why not I was here after that. But
Spit it out. Come on.
oh, wasn't I available?
When?
One day I was around. I could do one day, and you binned me off, and then I think it was
It's been 8 weeks.
probably back in June. But,
No, you came on after Arsenal. Your 55 days that we've not seen you is longer than the shortest reign of a Premier League manager.
I have to say, I actually didn't come on after Arsenal because I was reporting on a certain person being.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you've literally gone somewhere now. We're not going there. You're not going to say what you were doing?
I was reporting at the Hugh Edwards sentencing.
Yeah. So you're
That
a man.
day.
You're
That was the day after Arsenal. I was around the following week. You didn't ask. You found someone better to come on.
Ollie Spiro.
Holy Spirit, he is better. And then, yes, I will admit, I was holidays, couple of days holidays, couple of days I had to work. Last week I had a funeral.
Okay, so
You
stuff's
know,
been
you have a go
happening.
at me with that.
I'm not having a go at you for that.
There you go.
So it's not been a falling out. But you've been away longer than Les Reed was in charge of Charlton. 14 days longer. How long was Liz Truss like Prime Minister for?
How long was Steve Perryman in caretaker charge?
Yeah, but that doesn't count. Ollie's not. You're saying Ollie's caretaker?
Is he?
But you've got to think that
No, this is a squad, and we have
49 days, Liz Truss.
There you go. I think we should leave politics.
that
out
he's
of
so upset is testament to yourself. He missed you, clearly.
People have genuinely. Where's Jake? I got one DM from someone. Have you fallen out with Jake? Someone genuinely DM me. Have you fallen out with Jake?
it. Oh yeah, who was it?
Somebody that knows he falls out with people.
Somebody that Johnny allowed into his DMs.
All right. You happy to see him back?
Him? Of course I am.
Of course he is.
Okay.
Me and Gary, you know, we're always talking.
Fun boy too.
Jake is the yin to my yang.
Oh shit! I was supposed to press this button if something good happened, and I forgot.
What
I think
good
it's down.
happened?
It's down. Your banter.
Oh right, my banter, great. Well, it's nice to be back. Place looks the same.
Yeah.
The wheels
This old-
keep turning.
Will it be 55 days till we see you again?
Absolutely not. As things stand,
Yeah. You're going to give us your diary now.
as things stand, I expect to be here next week, if I'm allowed.
See how you get on.
If
It's
I'm
trial.
invited back.
It's a trial period.
Possibly Friday, although no, Fridays are
No,
tricky.
we're doing Thursday.
We're doing Thursday. Possibly Thursday.
All right.
I don't know. Who else you got?
I think Ollie's been desperate to meet you.
Oh, no.
This is enough about you.
All right. Yeah.
Weekend, how was it?
We're just putting off. Well, we'll talk about the weekend. Who had the best weekend here, do we think?
I had a really good weekend.
I think it might have been you.
Firstly, I didn't watch Spurs, as I alluded to, because I was driving back from Liverpool.
It wasn't even on the radio, was it?
It wasn't on the radio. It was on the BBC Sport website, and we started with it through my wife's phone, and I was like, this just keeps cutting out as we were driving through the middle of nowhere. And then we went 1-0 down. I was like, do you know what? Not interested. I've heard this one before. Yeah, I went to Goodison Park. So my wife, being an Everton fan, wanted to go back to Goodison before it shut down. Hadn't been for a while. So all four of us went up, and I watched Everton. I don't know if anyone saw the game. My word. I thought they were really bad when we played them and beat them 4-0.
I watched a lot of football this weekend.
And I left the ground thinking, I'm never going to complain about Ange again. And obviously 24 hours later, I'm going to complain about Ange. That is a bad football team.
But
Great.
more importantly, how was the old girl?
Nina.
Goodison.
Oh.
Nina! Teed him up.
Press the button, James. Clip that up. Do you know
I would
what?
never refer to Nina like that. How dare you?
Do you know what? Goodison, it's a shame. We went and see the new stadium as well, which you can.
Oh,
yeah, it's really cool what they've done. You can go into this. It's right on the dock, and they've created this little thing where you can drive in and park. And they've put a little bit of terracing. It's more like just a very small bit of scaffolding. But they've written Gladys. They put a Gladys Street sign And you can perch over and have a look. You can't really see much. It looks like a soulless glass bowl at the moment because there's no branding. But Goodison's great. Like,
But it's essentially built.
yeah, it looks. But I don't know what you can't see the inside.
To be honest,
obviously.
I think for more insight on this, you should go to Johnny's socials because I saw some pictures that you put up. And
it was a lovely weekend. Going back to Goodison, like I was an old boy behind me who was talking to himself most of the time. It was like, but like,
was he local?
No,
Scouse lad.
Yeah, I thought he was talking to someone with him who's like, "We're not playing very well, are we?" And I turned around and I was like, but like he's like a really old guy. And he's obviously been to Goodison for 60, 70 years. And I was like, what a shame. But I feel like there's so much history in this ground. And I know for these people, it's going to be it's like us with White Hart Lane, but we're young. Like for these guys who've been going to Goodison for years and years and years, it's a big change, but it's a great old place.
My dad, I think, had maybe half a season at the new stadium, and he likes it, but that wasn't his experience.
I was thinking about this guy, thinking when you get to the new place, are you going to be like, this isn't for me anymore?
Yeah.
But he was kicking every ball, bless him.
How were the prawn sandwiches at Goodison?
I was certainly not in the prawn sandwich. We can barely get a sandwich at half time.
You did very well to get tickets. So
yeah, do you want me to? Yeah. Helped out by Leon Osman, friend of the show. Thank you, Leon.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Well, I thought that's where you were sending me down that path. Listen, he was the very nice thing. We had some nice tickets, and they drew. We went to see it. My son wanted to see Anfield. He wanted a ground hop around the northwest of England. After we went to Anfield, he's like, "Can we go to Tranmere?" I'm like, "I'm drawing the line at Tranmere." But it was really good. And then.
Some of you have actually been to Tranmere. We're doing everything we can. We're doing everything we can to avoid talking about Palace. But some of you have actually, I'm sure, because
we went in the League Cup.
No. I was living in France.
Oh, that's right.
And we lost, I think, 4-0.
No, we won 4-0 in the League Cup.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I was living in France years and years and years ago, and I just know because it would have been an away trip that I would have been on, and I was getting messages from you boys that you're at Tranmere.
Yeah, all I remember is the asbestos at the back of the stadium. Someone needs to come and have a look. Put that in.
Still, you live with that every day. What exactly were you doing living in France?
I was living in France. I was just there.
He was living in Nantes.
Yeah, somewhere like that.
Why?
Let's move on and let's get this done.
That wasn't leading because I don't know that, but I'm sure people watching and listening would.
It's not really that interesting. Okay. I was studying French and I lived in France for a year.
Oh. You live in Russia as well?
Yeah, for a bit.
We don't talk about that.
Lived in Russia.
That we don't talk about.
International man of mystery. Gary, right.
Mike Myers over
We
here.
have to talk.
Should we talk about Tottenham?
So you didn't watch the game because you were driving back.
Yeah,
you are lucky.
I am lucky.
I reckon a 6-hour jam on the M1 on the way home would have been better than that. Beto. What a very clever link.
There you go.
He came on a roundabout a bit. Harry would have loved him.
This is why we missed you.
Right, let's do a little bit of club news. It's a fun one. The under-21s lost 4-1 at home to Reading. The under-18s lost 3-2 at home to West Brom. But the men cheered us up, didn't they?
Incidentally, the under-18s were 2-0 up at half-time.
Were they actually?
They were genuinely 2-0 up at half-time.
Something's rotten at this club. All right. I'm going to find the team lineup.
I can tell it to you.
Yeah, well, my app's crashed. Go on, then.
We know the back four. The back four.
The lineup was the one that I said. Oh. It was the exact lineup that I said.
It was Bissouma in midfield.
No, that's not how you read a lineup. Do you work in telly?
We know it's Vicario in goal.
I'm still going to do it.
We know it's Porro, Romero, Van de Ven, and a doggy the back four.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bissouma played just in front of them. It was then Maddison and Kulusevski with Mikey Moore left, Solanke through the middle, Brennan Johnson out on the right.
Thanks.
Yeah. I know that.
It was the exact lineup that I said. So, coming up to kick off, I was patting myself on the back for being such a genius.
And
you got it, very proud of
and
myself.
You got it wrong.
Got it severely wrong, yeah. But to be fair, I mean, I think it could have been any lineup. It wouldn't have mattered. When you go out on a pitch with an attitude like that, you're going to get stuffed.
All right, we'll come to the attitude in a second.
I was surprised that Mikey Moore was played.
Well, Ali, friend of the show, Tweedale, sent me a message saying, I don't think Mikey Moore should have started. Well, that was obviously in hindsight.
But he had said before.
He had said
on
that was
last
the point.
Week's
Yeah,
show that. Well, no, he didn't say he didn't want him to. He said he just didn't think that it was right for him to start. And I just keep thinking of when Phil Foden was coming through. He'd play, and then you wouldn't see him for months, and that was all Pep. Maybe he wasn't 17. I can't remember how old he would have been at that time.
He managed him properly.
And people kept
not saying we're not, but he managed it.
Yeah. But clearly he managed him properly, because look at him now. I don't know whether Mikey Moore's been, it's too early to say, but
if Timo Werner was any good, he wouldn't have started.
The other thing is, what does it do to Timo Werner? Mikey Moore's not going to now be our left winger for the rest of the season. I wouldn't even think, obviously, when Son comes back, is Mikey Moore now the second choice? Is that what we're looking at?
Which is a problem, really, is it not?
Where does it put Werner in the pecking order? There's already been a suggestion. Not suggestion. Ange admitted that he's low on confidence.
Well, you got.
What have you got to lose by sticking him? You're only going to damage him further, I think, by not picking him in that game. You're not going to damage Mikey Moore because he's 17. He knows what the deal is. Maybe he has a good game, and then he has to take a step back. But Werner, now the guy. I mean, where does he go from there?
Back to Leipzig.
Yeah, but he doesn't though.
No, but he does.
And if Son gets injured again, we'll need him.
Will we though? Odegaard's back. I would much rather see on any given game Mikey Moore or Odegaard on the left than Werner. And
But you can't talk about Mikey Moore like that.
But you've got to look at Andrew's comments about Werner as well, and I thought they were quite telling when he. I can't remember the exact question that he was asked, but it was about Werner and how they're helping him. And he said, look, we're going to help him mentally. We're going to support him. That's obviously what we're going to do. And we create that environment for all of our players to be able to put them in the best position possible. But ultimately, it's on them to step up. And this is actually prevalent for the whole team. It's on them to step up when they go out on the pitch, perform, and have an end product, right? So we can only do so much, and we're doing all of that for Timo, and we want him to succeed. But ultimately, there needs to be an end product, and there hasn't been, and there really hasn't been.
I think we've been waiting for it to happen, and it's just not happening.
And in fact, the other night against RZ, their best chance came from him. He was their most creative player. At one point, he played them in. I don't want to sit here and dig out Timo Werner, but at the end of the day, he's become a bit of a liability. It's one thing not hitting that cross and finding the man in the box, or fluffing a goal-scoring chance. When you're playing the other team in at the other end, there's a serious problem. So I agree entirely that it wouldn't have been right for him to have started, particularly in a game where the anticipation had been that Palace would sit deep and soak up our pressure. And he's not a guy that is going to, I think, beat a man and create a bit of space. Mikey Moore is. I don't think it was in any way the wrong decision to start Mikey Moore in that game.
I just don't want to see him. I just don't want to see him play that much, Mikey Moore. I'm really sorry to say, at 17, I don't want to see it. We've seen it in the past when players have just, as soon as they've come in, have just been, all of the clamour is there, obviously, but I think Phil Foden is the exact case in point of why it doesn't need to happen. Also, I think for a 17, I don't think we can talk about Mikey Moore in the same way that we're talking about Odegaard and Werner. He is only 17. I want to see him play in games where he's going to have more of a chance to show us how good he is, and also just not that regular. I just don't think there's any game in the Premier League really where Mikey Moore at this point, especially off the back of 80. Did he play the full game or did he play 90 in midweek?
He played about 75, I think.
Off the back of that, I just think
we've got a problem with Son out.
We do, but I just think you should just. I just think you've just got to play.
Jake, on Foden, he made his debut at 17 as a sub against Feyenoord. He played 15 minutes. 2 weeks later, he played the full 90 away to Shakhtar in the Champions League. But mainly, he played as a sub. 5 Premier League sub apps, age 17.
I'm not saying he can't start, but I just think off the bat, literally, he didn't play. You didn't see him in sort of 2 consecutive games starting like that, did you? And
not until about 2019.
To the point where there was talk of, is Phil Foden gonna leave? Is Man City the place for him? He's not getting in the... Okay, and look at Cole Palmer. He didn't obviously want that and he left. I just think that when 17, you can't talk about the guy like he's 22. He's 17.
And I don't think we will see him start that many games. But yesterday was, I think, I
see what you're saying. From a tactical point of view...
But it was a culmination of other circumstances. If Son had been fit, Mikey Moore wouldn't have started.
Yeah.
Son wasn't fit. Werner is shot to pieces. And Odegaard didn't even make the squad because he was unfit. So you've got the choice, really, then, of reshuffling the team and putting Maddison left, which I don't think he really wants to do, or you've got Werner or Moore. And so it was it was a culmination of circumstances. And under the circumstances, I think it was correct.
Moore had a really good game against Alkmaar.
Actually, Mikey Moore, I thought, was one of the few people that left the pitch yesterday with a little bit of credit. I don't think he did that much wrong, to be fair. Him and Solanke, and we'll come to it, but him and Solanke were the only two that I thought actually were okay. The rest of them were fucking awful, but him and Solanke were actually okay. And so people are talking about Mikey Moore. In my view, the team didn't support Mikey Moore yesterday. They didn't get the ball to him. They didn't look to use him. And when he was on the ball, he was one of the only ones. He lost it once, but he was one of the only ones that actually looked to try to do something. He played some lovely balls in the channel for Udogie on the underlap. You know, that sort of getting the fullback in that inside channel, the sort of son ball that he played to Udogie. Did that a couple of times. He looked to try and make something happen. So the whole conversation about Mikey Moore, I think, is a bit false anyway. I think the team didn't help him. The team didn't back him. They didn't support him in any way. And even then, I still think he was one of the few players that left the pitch with a bit of credit. But he won't start many games because Odeberg would have started ahead of him. Son would have started ahead of him.
I'm not talking about what I saw from him in the game. I'm just talking about the team sheet. I just didn't. Yeah,
but then, so you'd have started Werner.
I would have started Werner.
I don't think I would. I don't know what I'd have done. I think I would have. I'm still torn about it.
He's only 17.
I know he is.
So young. You know?
I know he is. I don't really know, but it happened and we lost. Talk to me. Like, I've seen the highlights.
Talk to me.
I've seen the goal.
1-0 at Palace. Talk to me.
I've seen the goal. What farting about? Was it Romero's ball to Van der Ven? Just what are we doing?
I thought of Gary when that goal went in.
Why?
Bad defending.
No, I thought it was another absolute suicide.
I thought of you because a point that you've made in the past. People say about Ange this and Ange that. Sometimes the players cock it up.
Yep.
And no manager in the world can legislate for player cock-ups. And when that ball came over, who passed it to Van der Ven? Romero. When he let it bounce, I was like, don't let it bounce.
Of course.
Just
defending 101.
Because you can see that somebody, and you're like, no. But even then, he shouldn't, I still think even then he could have done something with it. But by that point, by the time they won the ball back there, you're like, I mean, it wasn't a great ball. Why hasn't Romero put his foot through it? I don't know.
Because they're told not to?
Well, fine.
This is it.
But
so when you say about Ange, no manager in the world, well, this is how we're told to do it.
Yeah, but a lot of teams play like that. So fine, whatever. But it wasn't a good ball. But also Van der Ven, by that point, then you're looking at kind of like, what's the word? Damage limitation. At that point, you've got to cut your losses and just put your leg through it, put your foot through it.
If in doubt, kick it out.
Yeah. But what can Ange do about that? I mean,
the whole tone of the game was wrong from kickoff. I was watching it with a mate yesterday, and people can talk about Spurs didn't stand up physically to Palace. Palace pressed us aggressively and got on top of us. People can talk about all of those sorts of things.
And they will.
The third touch of the game, maybe the second, I don't know, it went back to Basuma, and he ballooned a ball, I think attempting to go down the line, and it just wafted out of play for a goal kick. And it resonates with me because I remember watching a Match of the Day highlight however many years ago, and Shearer, or whoever it was, picked up, I can't remember the team it was, but he picked up, he said, and you could see from that very first minute, the way they started that game, it was wrong. They weren't on it. And that's what it looked like to me with Basuma, okay? And those words were resonating in my head. And I turned around to my mate and I said, I don't like how we started here at all. He went, we've only just started. I said, you don't kick off and balloon the ball out of play down the other end of the pitch. It just sets the tone. And everything we did thereafter was in exactly the same manner. There was no conviction behind anything. There was no real sort of aggression behind anything. I'm not talking physically. I'm talking in our passing to each other, in our movement, in everything we did. An example would be the offside goal that they scored in the second half, right? If that had been onside, Vicario right now would be getting absolutely slated. And that save, to me, summed up the whole performance because it was half-assed. It was just like, yeah, this is an easy save. I should make this. I'll go down in installments.
So you're saying the mentality was wrong?
The mentality was disgraceful.
I'm not pushing you, but where's that?
No, well, this is it.
No, push him, Parkinson.
Literally.
No, but this is it. Where has that mentality come from? It was an absolute abomination. And it's the kind of performance that, for me, creates a big disconnect between the fans and the players. And that's my concern, right? Is that...
Well, I said this to you, Gary, I talked about the atmosphere after West Ham. I still don't know if fans trust this team yet.
I don't think that they do, right? I mean, I see a lot of positive in how we're playing and what Ange is trying to create and what he's trying to do. where does this mentality come from? This arrogance that we've steamrolled West Ham 4-1. We are amazing. All we've got to do here against Palace is turn up.
Yeah.
Right?
They haven't won a game.
They haven't won a game. I mean, you know, we were even sat here in the last pod saying, well, Ali made the point to our guest, Mark, you know, that actually, is their home form that bad? And Ali went through it. They got a narrow defeat to Liverpool. They drew against this. They did that. And Ali was making the point that Palace at home are not something. And I think we all made the point, you know, Selhurst Park is a tough place to go. It doesn't matter how bad they are. You're never going to go there and get a freebie, ever. So the arrogance of that team to... like, I was going to say, just walk out. I didn't think walk out, amble out onto that pitch yesterday, start the game with that lack of intensity and focus. Yeah. And what happened was, people talk about Palace's aggression. All it was Palace getting confident, going, hang about, these boys aren't here today. And they grew and they grew and they grew. And it got harder and harder and harder. And the momentum, you know, we couldn't change it. There was one moment in the first half, I was actually like, I hate it when you see like these YouTube clips of people screaming at the TV at their team. But I confess that was me yesterday, because there was one point yesterday,
right,
where,
Goldbridge.
but there was one point yesterday where on 3 occasions we won the ball back from them, and on 3 occasions we passed it straight back to them in succession. Literally, won it back, have it again, won it back, have it again, won it back. And the third time that I did it, I lost my nut. I absolutely lost my nut.
What did you shout at the telly?
Oh, you don't even want to know it. Like I was fuming. The whole attitude of the team from 1 through to 11 was bad. That's unfair a little bit on Dom Solanke and Mikey Moore. But throughout the rest of them, it was dreadful. It was dreadful.
Was it worse than Coventry? Is it worse because it's actually our first team?
Yeah, it's worse. It's much worse than Coventry. It's much worse than Brighton. People talk about Brighton at least played well. And people go, oh, Palace played well, Palace played well. No, they didn't. Palace are crap. Let me tell you something. Even yesterday, Palace are utter crap.
Well, they've not won a football match this season, so yeah.
They are dreadful. Brighton at least came out in that second half and played good football. And played good football and would chance something. Played good football and they beat us. And yeah, okay, our intensity dropped. But Brighton at least played good football. In the first half of that game, I said to you, Brighton have played really good football. There were a few times I was like, wow, they play some nice stuff, Brighton. Palace are dreadful. Coventry, you mentioned, that was a first 11 thrown together that haven't really played much football. Yeah. Okay, and you can say the same about the Coventry team on that day, whatever. And, you know, this is why I think games like Wednesday night, games like, you know, the Europa League games is important for those players to get. But you can mitigate it. You can understand it a little bit. Brighton second half, you could say Brighton were phenomenal and we dropped the level a bit. This was an abomination from the first second through to the last. And it is on the players and nothing but the players. And I know you want to go about Ange Ball and waveform and this and that and the other. Go on.
Go on.
I was going to say, I don't even know how you start to talk about Ange Ball, because there was nothing in that game yesterday that was Ange Ball.
Yeah, I get
nothing.
That. I do get that. Can I just please drop this stat that I've been desperate to drop in for 35 minutes? I've only just noticed this. You talked about sort of, I think you said something about pressing or not pressing. Possession won in the final third, which we're usually pretty high at. For example, we can get around 11 to 17 in a game at any moment.
We're normally very good.
2 yesterday. We won possession in the final third twice.
And can I ask you another question? I'm going to put you on the spot here, and we can talk amongst ourselves. Can you look up our passing accuracy yesterday versus just generally normal sort of games? Because our passing yesterday was diabolical.
Passing actually usually spewed by the back four just passing it between each other.
But fine, they even tried. They couldn't do that. They literally couldn't do that.
I did wonder when in the first 20 minutes, I wrote down it took us 27 minutes to get our first attacking move.
Proper reporter, this.
Yeah.
He's watching at home with making notes.
Well, because I suddenly thought when we had an attack, I was like, hold on a sec. It wasn't. I don't even think we got a shot away, but there was a move. You know, a passing move.
27 minutes to do what, you said?
To get. I think it was our first kind of proper attacking move.
Our first foray.
Yeah. Foray. Well, we would, around their box, a couple of intricate passes. At that point, I was like, okay, so we haven't really done anything in the opening, whatever. But I wonder, and I know it's an age-old cliche, the first 20 minutes or so looked to me like a side that had played in midweek. And I know
but they hadn't.
There were only 3 players.
2.
3. Was it not 3?
That played in midweek?
That started in midweek.
Oh,
and there were 6 that were involved, or 6 of the starters were involved on Thursday.
Yeah.
The club is I know it's maybe not all those players, but the club is still, it's kind of a club thing. It's still game night, Thursday night, emotionally, mentally, less physically perhaps for some of them. But I just wonder, they're still working out and learning as a squad, as a club even again, how that works. Playing on Thursday, playing in midweek.
I don't know.
And playing on Sunday. Well, it's the first time we've had to do it under Ange. Playing on a Sunday away at Palace. Everything you've said, Gary, everything you've said, it kind of points to that. Whether it was that or not, I don't know. But
I don't know,
lack of intensity, misplaced passing, not being able to get into the game. Palace weren't that good, as you said.
No, they're rubbish.
So the only thing
People
that I
go
could
they
put it
play
down
very,
to,
very well.
and I know
disagree.
it's an easy. The only thing I could put it down to, and perhaps necessarily the players starting and doesn't back it up. But what else can you put it down to? Because we were so good.
Arrogance, absolute arrogance on behalf of the players.
But there's nothing to suggest up until this point. There's nothing that we've seen from Tottenham under Ange on too many occasions. There's nothing that you would say. You couldn't place an arrogance claim against them based on what you've seen in the last year, season and 9 games.
No.
Well, so we haven't just become arrogant in 4 days or in a week.
Gary, I've got the stat for you. It's interesting.
Go on. I don't know the stat, by the way, so I'm interested. It could blow me apart, but I suspect that actually our passing accuracy stats are normally about the 80-something. And I reckon yesterday, if it was above 40, I'd be astonished because they were dreadful.
Our average is 87.26%.
Yeah. It's going to be above 40, obviously.
Yeah. Yesterday was 81%, but they're always...
Okay.
Okay, it's the 3rd lowest under Ange.
Yeah.
One of the lowest is Chelsea, the Chelsea fast. You can't really, doesn't count. I'm taking that game out.
Yeah.
Everton away last season, a 2-2 draw. Fine. So really, taking out the Chelsea game, it's the 2nd lowest passing accuracy we've had in any game under Ange.
Yeah. And I mean, we probably should prep this show a bit better, but how about can you do like how many times you cough up pressure, cough up ball
possession lost? Yeah, I can do possession lost.
Not under pressure, because I reckon that's got to be one of the highest.
I can do possession lost.
But straight away,
I just think the less worrying thing about it though is that and I know it's again something that's easy to say. I just think in a one-off game, I don't think we kind of look at this. We need to maybe have a conversation about this in 4 or 5 games time now. If we see the same,
yeah.
I think of a one-off game, and the fact that you didn't come away from that game going, goodness me, we could have lost 3 or 4-0 there. Like, not a chance. Palace weren't.
Palace don't do that to you though.
No.
Yeah, but fine. So, but the point is, they didn't. I think it was more. And the game finished, I think, with that scoreline because of our.
We
beat
ourselves.
Yeah,
exactly.
Rather than us getting played off the park.
No,
so I think when
you're
that
not going to
happens,
get played off the park by Palace.
but regardless, I think it's far less. There's far less cause for concern when that happens. When you know that, because that's more easily fixable
the concern
than
is
another
if we play
team.
like that against a decent team, they would put us away.
Yeah,
in a big way.
But
go out on the pitch against.
But if you have an off day, you have an off day.
I'm sorry, I just don't. I can't get my head around how an entire team has an off day, and like I say, just the attitude from the very beginning was bad. I'm interested to know this stat, right? About
Can I give you the possession lost stat?
Yeah, go on.
The 2nd most in a game under Ange.
Yeah.
After that Everton game. Go on.
Right. But this all points to just the whole approach to the game from the team was wrong. You know, people will say, well, there's not much difference between 87% pass accuracy and 81. There's a huge amount of difference.
A lot of misplaced passes.
There's a lot of misplaced passes in that. Losing possession, what was that one again?
166 times.
166 times you lose possession.
No, but you're going to lose 100. You're going to lose possession 100 times in a match.
Right, but 166. You're talking about losing possession almost twice a minute. This goes back to what I was saying.
But our lowest is 105. So you take it from there.
Fine, but you're still losing possession almost twice a minute. This goes back to what I said to you about when we won it back 3 times in a row and passed it straight back to them 3 times in a row. Everything about this performance was wrong, and I don't know where it came from. I'm fuming because I'm sat here every week going, we're so close to being a really good team. We're really close. I like a lot of what we're doing. I like how we're playing. I like the structures that are being put in place. I like the fact that we're not giving up many chances and we're creating chances. I sit here and I say this stuff, and then that team goes and goes, do you know what, Gaz? It's not about me. I realise that. But they turn around and they're like, you know what? Up yours. We're crap, right? Yeah. Like, but we're not crap. You just played like a bunch of fucking idiots for 90 minutes. And it is. I'm so angry at this performance. It is untrue.
For the record, I just ran this.
He was in such a good mood.
He was in such a good mood
as well.
We lose the ball about 28 times a game more than Man City. I just wanted to chuck that out.
What's the opposite of therapy?
This.
I'm gonna do some stats, and I know you won't like this. I don't like our away form. I think argument was the wrong word. Discussion on Twitter last night with Prof Spur, who's telling me that form doesn't. He's done a whole article about how form doesn't really mean anything. Away under Postecoglou.
Is he trying to say form goes out the window?
It's a proper football man. Away under
Prosper football man.
Very good. Away under Postecoglou. Played 24, won 8, drawn 7, lost 9. Right, those wins. Bournemouth, Burnley, Luton, Sheffield United. 3 of those have gone down. Palace, Forest, Villa, Man United. I've taken out the in brackets. They had 10 men because I was going to get shouted at, but I've mentioned it. We've been.
Well, I mean, we played well in those games. It doesn't happen. It thinks it doesn't count. So,
yeah, well,
I'll let you have it. But I think we're battering them for.
We were playing really well in both those games anyway. I think the score may have been inflated, but I suspect we would have won those games anyway. We've been behind at some point in 14 matches under Ange away from home in the Premier League, and won once. That was at Burnley. No longer of this parish. And since the Chelsea fast, we've won overall home and away in the Premier League. We've won consecutive matches 3 times under Ange since the Chelsea fast. Again, don't want him sacked. Blah blah blah. A little bit. I think Ollie talked last week about the whack-a-mole on the pitch. Something pops up. We've sorted out. We need to sort the left side out. Now we sorted the right side out. All that sort of stuff. The bigger picture for me is, I love watching us at home. I go to the game. Bouncing down the street, we're going to have a lot of possession, we're going to play good football most of the time. Consistency is, I think you said or someone said on Twitter, we'll be all right. What is all right? If you're not consistent over matches, to win consecutive matches 3 times across it, which is effectively a season, 37 matches, and to have 8 wins out of 24 away from home, that has to be fixed. And we're on this journey and I'm here for it now. That, for me, has to be fixed.
It does have to be fixed. 100% it has to be fixed. What I keep going back to, though, is as you said, what is all right? What does all right look like? Our aim at the end of the season is to probably be in the top 4. We may get there, we may not get there. We'll probably finish 5th if we don't finish 4th, I reckon. I can't see us finishing lower.
But people are already saying, we're a cup team this year, because they're kind of looking at the league form going, where are we going to go?
But people are looking at the league after 9 games.
Yeah.
I think you start looking at the table and worrying or feeling comfortable by February, March time, because then you can see you have a bigger picture.
I don't know. I think that's a bit late.
Late?
Yeah.
But look at what Chelsea, where were Chelsea in February last year? Yeah. Where were we after 9 games this time last year? Winning the league.
We are coming up to the anniversary.
I'm not having any worry about where the season is heading at this point, because as we saw last season, the season ended up in a very different place to where it was after the first 10 games. And also, things can change very, very quickly.
I know what people will say, and you're probably thinking it too. We played well listen, we should have beaten Leicester. I don't really care for the performance. You should be winning at Leicester. Played well at Newcastle. Sucker punched us. Played well for 45 minutes against Brighton. Football matches are twice as long the last time I looked. You can't just play well for a half. Played very well at Man United, regardless of the red card. We were playing superbly. Yesterday, trash. One away win in 5. Your argument might be you keep playing like you did against Newcastle, Brighton, United, wins will come. But ultimately, you've still only won 1 of them. And our next away game is City.
But last year, people had said that we weren't even playing that well, and we'd won 8 or whatever it was of the first 9, whatever it was. So that's exactly what I'm saying. It's like the margins are so fine.
Well, the 7 in 9 win or 7. What have we gone 7 in 8 wins up until?
Yeah, but people had said we hadn't even played that well.
Well, we hadn't. We played trash against Coventry. Played some Europa League fodder.
And this season we haven't played that well, and we've been on the other side of it. So I think that's
consistency then.
Well, no,
you've got to find that balance.
That's kind of the point. Is what I'm saying is that ultimately the people look at the table, but you need to sort of look more closely at what's kind of been going on underneath the surface of it. Okay, you're talking about away form. I'm talking about just form in general. Yeah, the away form is bad, but ultimately you can still. How good was our away form last season?
Well, look at the wins.
Yeah, and we nearly.
Listen, our away form's never been that good. This isn't new.
Sorry?
This isn't new. Our away form's not been good for a long time.
Right, and yet last season we were still in the top 4 mix with about 4 games to go.
Right, so I just think to go from "but it'll be all right" to actually pushing that, I think confident we'll win most of our home games. Jury's out against big teams, but I think we need to be more consistent away from home to push on and upwards from where we were last season.
The question is how.
I think
that's up to him to find out.
But I think the point that you made is the prevalent one, which is, you say you don't care about performance, but our performance against Leicester merited 3 points. We should have beaten Leicester. It just should have done.
Newcastle,
but Leicester, you say that Vardy had a massive chance at 1-1. We're just giving up these chances.
Okay, but on the whole, on the balance of the play, we should have been 2 or 3 up by the time it was 1-1.
Should have been, yeah.
Right? We should have been. Newcastle, I think, I've heard pundits who are neutral say Spurs should have won that game.
Me too.
And we should have won that game.
I've also heard pundits say that we actually did all right against Arsenal. I mean, they had that one chance, they scored with their one chance.
We're talking about away form, right?
Yeah,
so let's keep it. But and then United, okay, you've mentioned a couple of times they had a man sent off. Eric Ten Hag has dismissed the game entirely for that reason. It's just mental. But the reality is, but by the time Bruno got sent off, we could have been 2 or 3 up in that game, right? So this isn't for me. And Brighton, 2-0 up at half time. And I said, in the aftermath of that defeat, I don't think many teams would go down there and be 2-0 up at any stage of the game. So for us to have been 2-0 up and lamenting the fact that we weren't coming off the pitch more ahead, that said something.
It does.
And
Okay.
2-0 is the most dangerous lead to have. So,
this is well, I mean,
I'd rather be 2 up, mate.
Well, Brighton managed to blow a 2-0 lead on the weekend.
By the way, that
was hilarious.
You seen that?
Yeah. That was hilarious.
That Tommy Doyle
gave the ball away.
The Vifa, the new midfielder, but amazing.
That was absolutely astonishing. Anyway, lack of pragmatism.
No, just a shit pass.
It was, right? I mean, but
he could have taken it into the corner. The manager actually said he should have just taken it into the corner.
Yeah, but the point that I'm making is the reason I'm so angry with yesterday is because I look at those performances and I think exactly what you're saying, which is you can, and you're talking about this debate that you had with Prosper or whoever it is, where he's saying form doesn't matter.
He's a listener. Or is he not?
He's not.
Say what you want.
And he's saying form doesn't matter. I kind of get where he's coming from in this instance because I don't think the results reflect the form generally. Okay, if we've been going away and rolling over in the manner that we did yesterday, then form
That's more worrying.
Then form is of course really, really important. But generally, our away form hasn't been a away form that's got me going, ooh, I'm really concerned about our away form. Generally, it's been like, if we keep playing to the principles and the philosophies of what this team is trying to be set up to be, then we'll win. And that's what angers me about yesterday, is it all went out the window. And we didn't do a thing. We did nothing. We didn't look like an Ange team. And that's what bothers me.
But that's why, on the flip side, that's why I think it's less concerning because it was like a one-off. No, it was like an isolated one-off.
That's what he's hoping is the situation.
But there's nothing to suggest it's not at this point.
But you're right. But there's 2 ways of looking at that, right? And in the way of sort of how we play, I'm confident that if we go away and play our game against most teams, we will be okay.
Okay, guys.
Right? However, where I have a concern about yesterday is that is now 3 halves of away football where the mentality, 3 consecutive halves of Premier League away football, Brighton and 2 against Palace, where the mentality has just been, you wouldn't find a worse mentality.
But also,
so that starts to become form. That starts to become...
Do you know what's fortunate?
What?
We've got quite a few home games coming up.
Well, yeah, I'll come to that in a sec, Jake. We've gone behind in...
I didn't read the running order, sorry.
We've gone behind in all...
You've been away for a bit, you don't know how it works anymore.
We've gone behind...
Get back into the routine of it.
I'm going to say it again.
I just don't want to let them
talk. We've gone behind in our last 3 home games. West Ham, Brentford, Arsenal. Didn't come back against Arsenal. A lot easier to go behind at home and come back at home, right? So that's another thing. You let in the first goal away, which we don't tend to do that often. Listen, we can score first and lose away. There's just a yin and a yang between our... is that the right phrase? I don't know. And our home and away form. We have to be a bit more consistent away. Gaz, when was it I said to you, what happens if we don't win our next whatever it was? And we won them.
Prior to Coventry.
Yeah. I'm just looking... Yeah. So prior to... I think it might have been prior to Coventry, yeah, right?
It was Coventry because you were saying, what happens if? And I said, well, what happens if?
All right, our next 4 away games. Listen, if they can't cope at Palace, I don't know what they're going to do at Galatasaray. But in the Premier League.
Oh, we keep saying that, but are Galatasaray any good anymore?
It's just at home, yeah.
Are they?
They're not good, but it's a tough place to go.
Yeah, it's a tough place. Yeah,
and
okay.
if we've got broken mentality players away to Brighton and Palace, then good luck.
It's a different game,
Gaz,
Go on, I'm looking up the fixtures.
There's going to be. You mean there's going to be flares and all that and toilet roll chucked at them? But but like, are the Galatasaray actually any good?
That's like the reception you got here downstairs.
Exactly. You can't win. Am I going to do this? Should I know off the top of my head?
No.
Will I know some of their players?
You will.
You will.
Yeah. They've got Icardi,
Osimhen, the Belgian
Mertens.
Yeah.
Yeah, but are they any good?
Yeah.
Are they top of the league?
Can I please get my point away?
Fine.
Next 4 away Premier League games: City, Bournemouth, Southampton, Forest. Before we come to the game at Arsenal, City, Bournemouth, Southampton, Forest. Let's park City. Who knows? We've got a decent record there, but we'll possibly lose that. Bournemouth, Southampton, Forest. If we're sitting here, Gaz, with 1/2 away wins from our first 8 games, does it become a problem?
Yeah, of course it is. And it's a problem now. I'm not dismissing that it's a problem.
I know you're not.
Right? I'm not dismissing it. What I'm saying is, if we'd gone to Palace yesterday and played Ange ball and played the way that we play, and Palace had beaten us,
you go, okay, I can see. I get it. I agree.
Then I'd be sat here going, well, why? How has that happened? What's gone on there, right? But my frustration.
No, but would you actually? You'd be more like, okay, at least I can see what we're trying to do.
No, 100%. But I'll be saying, what's gone on? Why has that happened? How has this happened? Right? Like, because if we play Ange ball or the way that not Ange ball, if we play to our true philosophy and self, then we beat Palace. Right? I'm convinced of that. I look at these away games and I'm like, look, if we go to Bournemouth, and they're a good team, by the way, okay, but if we go to Bournemouth and play properly, that's the key. Play properly. I think we'll beat them. We go away to Southampton, play properly.
Should be beating.
We should be beating them. And as good as Forest are at the minute, with the best will in the world, we should be beating them. Okay, those are 3 away games.
Should and needs to be beating these.
Those
teams
are 3 away games that I expect us to win. And if our mentality is right, if we approach those games with a professional mindset and we implement what Ange wants them to implement, then I'm sure that we will beat them. But if we're sat here, having played those 3 away games in the way that we would hope them to be played and lose, then we've got to have a real deep dive into, does Ange ball work away from home? Then it becomes a problem. If we're sat here having lost a couple of those games because they've rolled over and had their bellies tickled like yesterday, doing absolutely nothing that any of us see, we don't recognise what that team was. That was the problem yesterday. None of us could recognise what that team was. It wasn't anything that we've seen over the last 18 months. Yeah. And if we're sat here after those 3 games saying, well, that's happened again and again, then there's a problem.
Which is the bigger problem.
I think that's a big if, because as you said, we haven't seen that over the last 18 months.
But he's asking me. He's asking me, what if we're sat here?
I think that's actually a bigger if than the if he asked you after the Arsenal game, whatever it was. If we lose, I think it's a bigger stretch to be worried that might happen. The only other thing I'll say is, actually, I haven't seen a lot of Palace this season.
Lucky you.
Lucky me. Is that how they've been playing? Is that how they've set up against other sides?
Yeah. More or less.
This is how they
played
now.
5. They were playing 4, I think, at some point. They were playing 5. They
played 5 a lot of the time.
They brought Mateta back in.
Yeah, and Wharton came back in.
Arguably,
it was their strongest
team. I'm talking about the way they set up.
Yeah, it's how they play.
This is how they play, because it's not how they played at the end of last season, because I saw them twice in their last 3 games at the end of last season.
They had Elise.
Well, but yeah.
They've lost fluency.
But the setup was the same. They were looking to press teams hard like they did yesterday, but they weren't sitting back. Yesterday, they were trying to soak up the pressure from us. And actually, when I watched them at the end of last season, they were the ones dictating the play, getting on the ball.
They were.
Getting the ball forward quickly. So I don't know if they've changed the way that...
And that's been a complaint from their fans, is they're not playing that way, but they've not had Elise in transition.
So the point I'm going to make is, actually going away to Bournemouth won't play like that. Bournemouth front foot, 100%, suits us. Southampton, the same.
Open.
So open, but plus... and then the other game is away against Nottingham Forest.
They got a good manager, Forest. What's his name?
The thing about the Forest game is, I think you look at that Forest game now, and I think a lot will depend on how they've kicked on or not between then and now. I mean, that game against Forest is on Boxing Day, so that's still 2 or 3 months away.
That's
if Forest are still in the same sort of position that they're in now, then they're in the same groove as they are. I think that's a very, very tough game.
It's a tough game
if
anyway.
If they lose, then if they suddenly fall off a cliff,
Forest again.
Then become Forest again. So I don't think it's necessarily right to say if we lose away against Forest, because Forest might end up having a push for top 8 this season.
Jake, I'm just intrigued by our away performances now. I think you know what you're going to get at home.
I think look, it's a valid question, right? If we're sat here after another couple of, we'll put City to one side, but them 3 games, right? If we're sat here after those 3 games, and we haven't picked up many points, then of course, we've got to do a real deep dive into it. Up until yesterday's away performance, you could say we haven't taken the points away from home this season. I think last season, I mentioned a few weeks ago, I don't like rolling one season into the next because I think they're different things.
Right, Spurs.
This calendar year. He doesn't like this calendar year.
But I don't actually.
But this season, I look at our away form and I'm like, we haven't picked up the points that we've merited. Okay, I just don't think that we have. So I haven't been that concerned about our away form. As you say, if after those next 4 away games, we're in a similar position, then yes, it becomes
something to keep an eye on.
Really big question, yeah. But as I say, yesterday's frustration, anger, disconnect with the team was that is not the team that we've generally tried to fall in love with over the last 18 months. That was an abomination. It was a disgrace. The players should. I don't want to see on Twitter, we go again. We learn, we move. I don't want to see that. What I want to see,
come off Twitter.
What I want to see from them is we were disgusting. It wasn't right. We're sorry to all of our travelling fans. We're sorry to all of our fans globally. We should never, ever put in a performance like that again. That's what should be said.
And that's another reason you need to get TikTok.
What? What's that got to do with anything?
It's a happier place.
It's hilarious. Okay, Parks Palace. See you later.
Park the bus.
Big week. I think it's a big week. Again, it's not if we lose them both, he's going to get sacked. It's a big week. We could be out of a cup by the middle of the week.
But it's a big week because imagine if we got 2 wins. What a turnaround it would be.
Yeah.
I'm cautiously optimistic about the Man City game.
Well, let's talk about City. I don't really want to go too much into Villa because we're going to do a show on Thursday. Gary, I don't think you're with us Thursday, so you're welcome.
Gary's no longer with us.
Next up, I've written here, Man City. We don't have a Man City guest. I've written some expletives in brackets, which I'm not going to repeat. We don't have a Man City guest. They'll probably come on here and tell us how wonderful they all are. What team is Pep Guardiola going to pick? Jake Robson, you said that Pep made a few comments about it.
He basically said that it was his lowest priority. That's literally what he said, the Carabao Cup. So I don't know. There was a suggestion that he might use some academy players. It doesn't take a genius to work out when you see someone like Phil Foden, and I only looked into this properly because for other obligations, i.e. fantasy football, trying to work out whether he was going to play at the weekend. He played the full 90 in midweek, which made me think that he wouldn't play on Saturday. And he started on Saturday and played 60, 70, 80 minutes, whatever it was. I would therefore be very, very surprised if Phil Foden plays on Wednesday. Now, if Phil Foden's not playing on Wednesday, and then, the way that managers do this is better than anyone. They look ahead, don't they? They plan ahead. So they will have already, if he doesn't play on Wednesday, this is a decision that will have been forecast and made maybe 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, which automatically suggests that if Foden's not playing in that game, it's not his top priority. Because obviously with De Bruyne out, Foden, what other injuries did you tell me? Grealish, Doku. If Foden's not playing, then quite clearly it's not a top priority. Therefore, looking at us, it is going to be a top priority. Ange has already said he wants us to have a good
especially when you've announced you're going to win a cup this year, or you always win a cup.
Absolutely. And in any case, City at home, if they're going to play a couple of kids and they're not going to give it their all, then we've got every chance.
Well, it was a month ago, but this was their team that beat Watford in the last round. They won 2-1. Ortega in goal, he'll play. Walker, been injured. Stones, Braithwaite, Lewis, Rico Lewis, and a guy called O'Reilly. Doku, injured. McAtee, he'll play. Nunez, he'll play. Grealish, injured. Foden up front. Haaland was nowhere to be seen. I don't even think he was on the bench.
And bear in mind, at that point, you say Stones and Grealish, I don't think they were in the first team at that point. Stones has only been back in the first team for a couple of weeks. So that was a real second string, second 11. And if they do that, it was Watford. We're not Watford yet.
I think rather than worry about what they are going to play or not play,
I'm just asking the question.
That's why I think there's
But I mean, look, who knows what they're going to play?
Who knows what we're going to play?
Well, I think after the abomination of this weekend, I think we have to play our first team.
Got 4 days after that to play.
Yeah, I think it's a shame for the guys that would have come into this game, the likes of Dragushin, the likes of Archie Gray, and so on.
Do you think they would have done though? Regardless of what happened at the weekend,
Absolutely. I think they need to
Man City at home. I think he's going to play at least 7 or 8 of the strongest.
I think
players.
Dragushin plays.
I think a lot of that team that played yesterday have to go out again and put it right. And even if it is against a City youth team or whatever it is that they end up playing, they've got to go out and put in a proper performance on Wednesday night. And it is a shame because I think it will rob a couple of players who would have played the opportunity. But unfortunately, after that horror show, they always say the best thing that can happen is you've got another game a few days later to put it right. And I think for us, that's the thing. We've got to go out there and play a strong team. And it's a shame.
That's what they'll be saying on Twitter.
Huh?
That's what they'll be saying on Twitter.
TikTok.
And we go again.
Well, they better not. But I think they've got to go out there and play as strong a team as they can. I think we've just got to take it seriously. And I'm not. People sort of criticise me for this. Say, how can you not have won silver? I'm not that fussed about the Carling Cup. I'm really not.
Carling Cup, showing your age.
Oh, Milk Cup over here.
Is it not the Carling? What is it? The
Carabao Cup.
Is it not? I thought he was joking as well.
I mean, that's how I just think it's the most worthless cup. Like, honestly, we've won. So what? Like, what does it actually mean? Like, genuinely, what does it mean?
But winning breeds winning. Do you know something?
No, I know that, but the Europa,
I don't think we're in a position
League,
to be able to choose
what
cups we
should
be winning.
I get that. My only reason to want to win it is to shut a few idiots up with winning trophies. And then if you win it, it's only the Mickey Mouse Cup, right? But actually, what is it? It's pathetic. It's a pathetic trophy. It's meaningless.
Why is it?
The Europa League, on the other hand,
why has it become such a? This is a wider conversation. Why has it become such a?
Careful, Johnny's having
cup?
to work on it.
Don't work on the league.
EFL.
I don't know, because I think the rise of European competition has a lot to do with it. I think the FA Cup doesn't hold the prestige that it once did.
But the FA Cup's an occasion. Next best Christmas Day.
All the teams around the country, they get their chance to play.
Right.
They all deserve a big thank you all for taking part.
Yeah. But one team deserves a special mention?
Yeah. But look, I think the Europa League we've got to go all in on. But the point is about the game on Wednesday night is I wasn't actually... in terms of progressing to the next round, to me, if we'd gone out against any kind of City team, assuming that we hadn't played our first 11, you'd be like, whatever. I'm genuinely not that fussed. Not much.
But can we all agree?
But now we've got to go through.
We want to win this game against Man City compared to the last time we played Man City.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That goes without doubt.
Right.
But now, in the aftermath of what happened on the weekend, we've got to beat City. We've got to put in a performance, and then we've got to turn up against Villa, and we've got to put them away as well and bring them down a peg or two. Like, that's what needs to happen now. And we really need to get back to playing, the football that Ange wants them playing with the right mentality, the right attitude.
Yeah. He can pick whatever midfield he wants, but I would be picking it from, as in I would pick Sarr, Basuma, Bentancur. I possibly wouldn't dip into your Bergvals or your Greys as good as I think they are. I might play Dragossin because I don't think Romero is playing very well, but Romero is obviously a better player. And after that, sounds like Son's okay from what Ange said. Son, Solanke and Johnson.
I'd like to see Odegaard if Odegaard's around.
Okay.
I'm just sort of imagining the pelters that I'm going to get for saying I'm not fussed about the Carling Cup. I can imagine that something. So if we get to the final, you're not going to go. I can. But do you know what I mean? Like, let's sort of grow up about this.
It's the opposite. He's just here for the final. That's all he turns up for.
Well, for the League Cup, I'm going on Wednesday night because I love to go and watch Tottenham, but. Let's be real about this. I'm just saying it's not on the. Guardiola's sat there saying it's the bottom of his list, and I get that they're in a completely different position to us, right? But that's what I'm saying. Of course, if we get there, I'll go to the final. Of course, I'll love it, and if we win, great. But
would you be annoyed if we lose on Wednesday?
It depends.
Away from the normal.
Surely not after what you've just said.
Away from the normal. You don't like Spurs losing.
Like,
you can't then complain.
If we go out and play a very strong team, and they go out and play a comparatively weakened team, and they beat us because we have played dreadfully, then yes, I will be very annoyed. But I'll be assessing it more on performance rather than annoyance of going out the Carling Cup.
But there's no reason to suggest that if we put out a strong team that we won't play. I don't think yesterday is a big enough sample size to say that we're in a bad run of form. The other thing is, I have to disagree with you. I am convinced that regardless of yesterday's result, he was going to put out not the strongest team possible, but
the Europa League team.
No, as strongest team as, barring the odd. He wants to give someone a rest. Oh, is that us? We're being kicked out.
The dog pod is on after us.
Don't shoot. I just think he would have played a stronger team as barring the odd minutes rest. Like a Romero or a Van der Ven. I think he's putting out. If Son's fit, I think he plays. Solanke, Johnson. I think he's going as strong as he can.
You think he would have done that even if we'd won yesterday?
Yeah, 100%. Because I think this is a separate game. Obviously, I think in isolation, I think he wants to give the Carabao Cup a good chance. And if he has any inkling that City are going to play a weakened team, all the more. It's
a strong quarter-final. Like if we get through,
I just think after last season he was burnt. He was burnt by what happened at Fulham, and I know Fulham aren't Man City, but I almost think, again, in contrast to what you're saying, if we go out having put a strong team out, at least no one can turn around and say, "Well, we didn't give it a proper go."
Yeah.
If City have play the kids and we play a sort of second-ish string of not of kids, but of the Carabao, the Europa League team, because you're talking about people like James McAtee and guys like this. These guys aren't on City's bench ever, are they?
Well, when did they beat us in the FA Cup? Was that last season?
Yeah.
I mean, just
McAtee play on the bench sometimes, but he won't. He's not starting any games for them. If we play, even if we did play the likes of Bergvall or Archie Gray, I mean, these guys are playing in the Europa League at least. I think that's still a stronger team than the one that City could end up putting out, especially
if we beat
that one
City,
you said from the last game.
If we were to beat City, I mean, you go into the next round, there's going to be Arsenal, one of Newcastle or Chelsea, one of United or Leicester, probably Aston Villa, and then one of Brighton or Liverpool. I mean, that's bloody tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough.
It's never an easy competition to win.
I genuinely think the Europa League is easier to win.
Yeah. I'll give you
and bigger, much bigger. Which is why I say, if we hadn't have put in that performance yesterday, I would have been quite happy for us to play a much weakened team and really focus on Villa.
I get it. I just think we need to win something. Which I just want us to win every football match. I'd go strong on Wednesday night, and I hope he does. All right. Any other business? You going on Wednesday?
No,
you're going.
I am.
Yeah. Taking my son, who was really excited to see Haaland and De Bruyne, and I was like, he might be on the bench. I think he might load his bench, so he won't want to lose. That's for sure. I think he'll happily see what his team can do, but he'll have the bench loaded.
How did your kids react to the Everton equaliser?
I cheered. Wasn't going to lie.
Really?
Yeah.
Relief that you weren't going to have a hard night.
I wouldn't say caught up in the moment. I wasn't sat there singing Everton songs, but for my wife and my son
the old girl was
happy.
Goodison.
The old girl, yeah.
Did you have the rattle?
Left that to the old boy behind me with his fake
his
gurning. I was pleased for them.
What would have disturbed you more? The guy was chatting behind you to himself. We're not playing well. We're not. But what if he'd been going? We're not playing well. Yes, we are. No, we're not. Yes, we are.
And then you realise he had a puppet on either hand.
Bless him. I did have a little chat with him at half time. A nice fella. Okay. Yeah, I did. I didn't I wasn't giving it all limbs. I was like, hey. I think it would have just looked weird and we just sat there. Anyway, prediction, please. Wednesday night.
3-2 Tottenham.
Ooh.
I think we win because we have to. I don't know what the score will be.
We'll win because we have to.
Spurs to win on penalties. Spurs to win on penalties. If only if I can get into that argument with people on Twitter about...
There's no extra time, is there?
No. Can go straight to pens.
Does that count as a win?
It counts as a draw. Oh, but you went through... Right. That's an episode in itself about do draws count as whatever. All right. I think we'll go through.
Me too.
Gentlemen.
Optimism.
Lovely to have you back.
Thank you.
I was going to ask your opinion on Villa, but actually I don't care.
I've watched every show. I've listened to listened or watched every show.
Oh, you're the guy?
I'm the guy.
I tell you what, you're going to tell everyone how to subscribe and stuff.
Get on the
because you always
YouTube
have a go
page,
at me.
subscribe to our channel on YouTube page, become an Echo of Glory member, join the club.
Okay, this is for my friend Ben Alprin, who keeps saying to me, stop not telling people how to become a member.
Was he? Your dad? Your uncle?
So he's our marketing guy.
Marketing guy?
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to use the internet?
I think he does, but he's saying tell people how to become a member.
Older viewers, go on YouTube.
Yeah.
www.
Press the power button.
This is my dad because he would have no clue.
The World Wide Web.
Yeah.
It's not actually. Just get the app.
You've got to subscribe on a desktop or a laptop.
Right. So go on the YouTube. You see what I did there? YouTube. Find Echo of Glory. EOGTHFC. Echo of Glory. THFC. /join. Join.
Should have just got him in here. Would have been.
Yeah, that's the point. James, you should have done that. Listen, Ben, as I'm telling everybody, go on the YouTube. Next to the subscribe button, there's a join button. Help us out here at LaunchPod Studios. Become a member. Some great content, extra stuff in there, which we will continue to put in.
Find us on Twitter.
The season.
Find us on Instagram.
Find us on TikTok.
Find us on Tiki-Talk.
Well, not me, but Echo Glory.
Gentlemen, I think you just played yourself into Thursday's team, Jake.
Look at that.
You're in the Europa League squad. Well
I didn't realise it was that easy. I'd have come back sooner.
There's no one else about. Gary, see you next Monday.
Cheerio times.
On the back of Villa. Ooh. Gentlemen, we'll see you soon, and up the Spurs.